Hi everyone, Pooka here. Once again, I have descended onto the expo hall at PAX Unplugged to do quick interviews with creators whose work is, I feel, somewhat adjacent to the themes and systems of Changeling the Dreaming and or Lost. As in previous years, this minisode has been produced with minimal time and possibly the most unforgiving sonic environment possible, so I beg your indulgence for this one. If you're at PAX this weekend, do check out the relevant booths of the interviewees. But if not, links to their websites and where possible the specific games will be included in the show notes to this episode. With that, on with the show.
This is Changeling the Podcast.
I'm here at booth number 4305 with Will from Absurdist Productions. And can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Will Thompson. I am a game designer from Oklahoma City. I've got a few different games here that I worked on. So I've got Transformation, which is my solo role-playing game. I've also got Winter Rabbit and Paleovet, which are two board games that I created. I co-own the company with my friend David Thomas. And we've also got some of his games, Seven Murders Till Midnight, and Churrascaria, and our upcoming Mirror Agents.
So are you familiar with Changeling the Dreaming or Changeling the Lost?
I have seen it. I have not played it, though.
Okay. One of the central kind of themes in the game is that idea of transformation, which is why that game caught my eye in particular. And in Dreaming, you are a fairy in a human body who awakens to yourself, and that's the transformation. In Changeling the Lost, you are abducted to fairy as a human and return transformed. So
That's very cool.
I'm curious about the kind of conceit of transformation in the eponymous game that you've written.
So the premise of transformation is that you are changing into a monster. You don't know what, you don't know why, but you're living in isolation with another person and they're having to deal with this change. And I really got the idea from my experience during the pandemic, kind of being a lockdown with somebody else, and how those kind of close quarters really make you feel differently about your relationship and kind of change how you react to each other. So that was really the inspiration for this.
Would you say that from one perspective, it's kind of a body horror game, and then from another perspective, the social repercussions of dealing with body horror?
Yeah, it really is both of those, because in the game, you're kind of like trying to hold on to your humanity, remember who you are, and, who you were before the change began, and also trying to understand the change and to some degree embrace it, right? And there's multiple endings that can come out, right? And those can either be that you fully embrace it or that it's sort of a tragic ending and it doesn't work out for you. Could be that your partner joins you in the change, or that goes in a very dark path, right?
Yeah. And you said it's a solo game, so is it kind of journaling style? Or?
It is a journaling style game. It's all card driven, so
Okay.
You basically divide the deck into three. So you've got your red cards, your spades, and your clubs. One set explains what change happens to you in that day. So the game goes over 7 in-game days, right? So one deck tells you what change happens, one deck tells you what event happens for the day, and then the red cards kind of let you determine if that event goes poorly or badly. And then you can also spend resources, which are your mementos and your bonds with your partner that help you remain human and get those better, more positive outcomes until those things are all spent up. And then, of course, things tend to go more negative.
Is there any kind of specific narrative reason I don't want to spoil it or anything, but is there like a backstory or a world that is kind of set in?
So I kind of like leave it open, so you can kind of play in any world you want. You can create any kind of setting. The only requirement is that you are, for whatever reason, in isolation with no other person.
Okay.
And so after that, it's more about discovery, right? You don't know why you're changing, so those kind of like revelations are kind of coming through the course of the game.
Okay. And I see you have another one here with you, which is Seven Murders Till Midnight.
So Seven Murders Till Midnight was written by David Thomas, who's my business partner, and our friend Jacqueline Schlasner. I helped do the layout and kind of development on this one. It uses the same card-driven system as Transformation, but this one has a different storyline. In this one, you are an investigator hunting a murderer. And so you're hunting this serial killer over 7 murders in 7 days.
Okay.
Right, and in the end, again, there's various ways it could end, where either they get caught or they get away or something else stranger happens, right?
And similarly, is that kind of open world, you can set it wherever?
It's open world. It has a couple restrictions. Like we say, it should be at least the 1800s or later because you need certain types of communication and kind of a setting to make some of the prompts really make sense. But as long as you're in sort of like that Victorian era up through modern and future, like it works perfectly fine and you can choose whatever setting you want.
Because something I always look at with the sort of open games like that is, can they be transposed into an urban fantasy kind of thing?
Yeah.
And especially for our listeners, how can we take that idea of the 7 murders and make it a Fae serial killer or something like that? So
yeah, and so like we've had people do really different things, especially with transformation. You know, we've had some people put it on a spaceship. Other people, it's a cabin in the woods. Somebody, it was at a remote like SETI research station, right? People have shared their stories with us, and they've come up with really cool different things. And you know, we wanted to make it, on the one hand, very open within the premise and genre of the game, so people can create their own setting. But of course, there's some restrictions you need.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, we wanted the games to have like sort of a set length and a set plot. That's just why they both go over 7 days. So there's like a definite beginning and end to your story, right? And we created the prompts so that they kind of escalate along that to form a coherent plot, right? With all the details being open to you still.
Well, sounds cool. So if there are people who are here this weekend, I can direct them towards your booth. But for everyone else, where online or wherever can they find these games?
Yeah, so you can find these games on our website at absurdistproductions.com. You can buy digital versions on DriveThruRPG, but the physical versions are only on our website.
Okay.
We're also on Facebook, Blue Sky, and Instagram, and you can just find us there looking up Absurdist Productions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
and
thank you so much.
Hope you have an enjoyable PAX.
You too.
I'm here at booth 4246 with Jack from Bodana Group, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the work you do and the game that you're pitching here. So
Sure.
can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Bodana Group is a 501c3. We operate many different programs, including direct services, using role-playing games, board games, all manner of tabletop. We also do training and consultation for professionals and agencies on how to integrate gaming into what they do. We do research on the efficacy of therapeutic use of role-playing. And, of course, we have also, in partnership with Onyx Path Publishing, have designed Branch Riders, which is a therapeutically minded narrative role-playing game, but it is not a therapy game.
Okay.
Like, you will get benefit out of this game regardless of whether or not you need therapy, which I believe almost everybody needs a little, but, you know.
Well, and that's something which I know we talk about role-playing games a lot, but conversations that I've had occasionally with people are about role-playing systems and how they can be put to uses that go beyond just gaming. Like, it can always be fun, but it can also serve purposes beyond that. So.
It's all about intention and the direction
Yeah.
that you focus the activity toward. And that was actually kind of the design ethic behind Branch Riders, which you take the part as a Branch Rider. It's one of 8 different genre-based realms that you can travel to.
Okay.
Our system is unique in that we don't use the D20. And when you go to do something, you're either going to you start with the 3-die pool,
Okay.
which is your approach. That's how you're choosing to solve the problem. So it's not strength or dexterity. It's, are you being creative? Are you being social? Are you being forceful? Which even then could be, are you being aggressively forceful? Or are you being assertively forceful?
Okay.
Then you pick either a skill or the use of your gift, which is like a superpower. Then we have a unique mechanic called the situation die, which is based on how aware the bad guy is of your presence or
Okay.
how much noise you're making as a supposedly supposed to be quiet adventuring party. When you roll those 3 dice, which are between D4 and D12, anything that's a 4 is a success. 3 successes is a yes and.
Okay.
2 is a yes. 1 is a yes but or a no but. And 0 is the worst. It is a no and. You don't get what you want and a complication occurs.
Oh, I love
So
that.
all narrative, and the DM doesn't roll or the GM doesn't roll dice. So it's purely player-driven narrative with a lot of interpretation, and the different genre realms were purely so you could get a group that would have, like, I have a fantasy person, a steampunk person, a sci-fi person. Well, now they can all play together, playing their genre preference.
That was my next question was, is there some kind of like shared world narrative or something that kind of ties it all together? But
Yep, that they are all 8 different realms that have been separated because the enemy of the game is called the Blight.
Ooh.
The Blight seeks to create chaos, tear the worlds asunder. So the Branch Riders created a magical ritual or a tech ritual, we're not quite sure anymore, right? That separates the realms so the Blight can't connect with itself and create more chaos.
Okay.
So that's why the Branch Riders mission is secret. You can't tell people about Branch Riders because the realms don't know about them. You can't talk about other realms, and you can't talk about the Blight.
First rule of Branch Riders. You can't.
Don't talk about Branch Riders. Exactly.
We're kind of defeating the purpose because this will go out to several hundred listeners. But
Oh crap, we've broken the rule already.
Since you're associated with Onyx Path, are you familiar with Changeling, in particular Changeling the Lost?
Yes. I was familiar with Onyx Path through the old days.
I mean, you can't see the bag of books next to me is all 90s White Wolf remaindered stuff, but yes, right on.
Yeah, and actually, it may interest your listeners that Onyx Path famed designer Eddie Webb was part of the design team for Branch Riders, and Rich Thomas, Grand Poobah of Onyx Path and formerly of White Wolf, he is on our board of directors.
Excellent.
So, yeah, we have many connects to the Onyx Path.
Well, so because with Changeling the Lost, it is often, in many circles, described as a game that is grounded in trauma bonding. And so when you talk about how games can be therapeutic without being therapy, I feel like that is another game where there are elements of that. So I'm curious about how you use yours in order to like more actively do that kind of work.
Really, the story's the thing where we'll catch a conscience of the king, right? It's we have people make characters that are relevant to whatever it is they're experiencing.
Okay.
Then we create challenges within the structure of the narrative that they can explore that skill building opportunity or that concept. Like, let's just say you have social anxiety. We'll create a character that might represent self-depreciating thought, which is a very common aspect of social phobia and social anxiety. So it might be like a small town sheriff who is kind of instilling that imposter syndrome energy. The client experiences it in the game, so they're experiencing all the same reactions and emotions, but it's in a safe, controlled environment.
Okay.
So that's really why we call our model therapy blended role-playing, because the story does the work.
Well, sounds really cool. I mean, I'm certainly going to flip through things, but if people are interested in finding out more, maybe picking up some of your materials, supporting the organization, is there a spot online or whatever that they can look for your stuff?
Absolutely. They can go to www.thebodhanagroup, that is BODHANA.org. And you can find out all kinds of ways. You can support us through direct donation, through GiveButter. We also have just recently started a coffee. So you can do monthly donation. Donations help with many things. One, they help pay for us to get out to things like conventions, conferences. They also, in some cases, we do a lot of group work that is on adjusted sliding scale.
Okay.
We have a lot of we have one kid who's never paid for group in the 3 years he's been with us, and that's also courtesy of donation. If you have board games, you have a wall of shame, and you're like, what the hell do I do with this stuff that I'm not playing?
Guilty.
We have our Give Meebles to the Peoples program, where we actually re-gift board game donations we get to libraries, schools, nonprofits, to give them a game library. We also donate to foster closets and rec centers.
Nice.
We just love giving the gift of gaming because that gift just gives so much.
Everyone needs it. So
Absolutely.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, and I hope the rest of your PAX is as fruitful as the morning seems to be. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the opportunity.
We're here at booth number, what booth is
3934.
3934 here at PAX with Natalie from the Storyteller Squad.
Hello, adventurers.
So, can you tell us a bit about yourself and about the squad?
Sure. So I'm Natalie. I'm the creative director, producer, and editor for the Storyteller Squad. We are an actual play series that uses Monster of the Week, and we are set in a magical version of modern-day Pacific Northwest. A lot of the stories and creatures on our show are draw heavily from folklore and mythology and basic fantasy. I like to describe it as modern high fantasy.
Nice.
There's lots of magic, but everyone has cars and phones and plane rides they have to go on occasionally. We do road trip arcs with radio cassettes and whatnot. It's a little Gravity Falls meets Constantine meets Hellboy. We mix a lot of slice of life and lo-fi vibes into our high action and adventure to break things up and give our heroes time to rest, because that's important, even for fictional heroes.
Downtime for everyone. So I'm here from both Changeling the Podcast and Mage the Podcast. I don't know how familiar you might be with Changeling the Dreaming or Mage the Ascension from the World of Darkness.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Okay, so primarily I'm kind of looking at creators who do things that are like adjacent to those games. So when you talk about having kind of the modern high fantasy, having fantasy integrated with modern, how do you approach that? Like, do you kind of start from modern day and fold the fantasy in, or flip it around?
I think it depends on the scope. When it came to like building the world, I definitely started like the furthest you could from where the actual story starts, which is cosmology. I had to figure out where the world came from, and like if there's gonna be magic, it's not just, you know, science in space and, you know, asteroids clashing together to form a planet. There's gotta be some poetry and you know, a creation myth to the story of this world, right? And ours obviously integrates like the breadth of time to allow for evolution and science and things like that. But you also have to have that element of, in a time before time, the earth spirit awoke and life spread across her like a verdant dress. Her mantle spread to create the heavens and the skies and da-da-da. And so our world is very, very reverent towards nature and, you know, the ephemeral spirits of nature and animals and just the natural world and things. And then I have my own twist on various, you know, Christian mythology and, you know, other things like Norse myth or Celtic history and things like that. Yeah, it's a mix of everything. When I have guests on, I tell them anything from any fantasy or mythology or whatever is in your background, you can bring into this world and it will fit, because it is a very like international in terms of its like world building philosophy. Mundane people have nations, the magical world has the world, and there are no borders like that amongst the folk and the spirits that make up our spirit realm. So we tend to bring in all sorts of creatures, mostly North American folklore and cryptids and things like that. So Sasquatch is in the show. We have a trans version of the moth cryptid from West Virginia show up.
I was going to say, I'm looking at some of these kinds of artworks that you have on the side here. I'm like, oh, these seem interesting. So.
Yeah, like integrating it with the modern, you just say, okay, you have the basic story outline. There is a quest, there is a problem, there's a creature to discover what their issue is. A lot of the monsters in our show are not evil, unless they are like literally defined as being sent from the evil place, right? We have antagonists who are just like literal evil villains. They have no redeeming qualities, although, you know, we'll see after 100 episodes if that remains true. But yeah, so I think the trick to doing it with like modern is figuring out the ways in which having magic and fantasy intersect regular mundane life elevates both.
Okay,
right?
I like that.
So we recently did a story in Boston where a hellmouth opens up at a subway station. And it's like, okay, well, in this world, it's been 2 years since magic became public knowledge, and the world has begun to rapidly adapt to that new paradigm. And so, does a hellmouth opening in the Boston public transit system destroy that city's infrastructure? No. You just have wizards put teleportation grids at the next and previous stops and allow the train to zip past the one that's currently being dealt with as a, you know, an active threat. And similar things like that. You know, you have magical music festivals and magic eco, you know, activists and things like that being like, we gotta save the magic realm, it's being mined for whatever, you know, like, yeah. So it's finding the things about the real world that, at least in my case, you like and are passionate about, and that you want to inject a little more adventure and life and imagination into.
Awesome. So I also have to ask, because I know that a lot of our listeners kind of do their own, you know, streaming games, recordings and stuff. From the perspective of doing an actual play podcast, how do you kind of structure it? Do you have advice, I suppose, for people who are interested in doing their own
actual play?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Start with your second best idea. if you are interested in actual play, save your like project that's closest to your heart until after you've made 10 episodes of a project you kind of like.
Okay.
Because you will learn more in the first 10 episodes of your project than you could ever learn by like thinking about it or taking classes. And how much better I think about like what would TSS be if our first 10 episodes had happened after I did like a trial podcast first. And it's tough to like take that advice seriously and say like, but I want to make the thing I want to make. And it's like, yeah, but you will be so much better equipped and able to make the thing you want to make great and easily accessible to people if you practice.
Yeah.
Because if this is a thing you're brand new to and you've never done anything like it before, there is such a learning curve. And it's quick. Most people that get into this, I see them adapt very quickly and they learn and they want to improve immediately because I know I was that person. But it very much becomes a thing of then you spend a lot of time after that, after your like first 30 episodes going, gosh, if people could only get to episode 11 where things really get good.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, what do we do? You know? So that's my, I think, biggest and most like tough advice to hear. Because the other things is like, make sure you're branding, make sure you're researching, make sure you're casting diversely, etc., etc. But like really, if you are the person who's going to spearhead the project, because that's also a common thing, is that you have one person who really wants to do a thing and they get friends of theirs to work on it with them.
Yeah.
And then you end up doing everything. So make sure you're ready as the person who it's all going to sit on your shoulders for a long time. Because eventually, you'll be able to get more people actually helping and contributing, and you know your cast might buy in more and get more invested in seeing it grow. But at first, it's going to be you. And if you really want it to succeed, the best thing you can do is make all your mistakes on something that's less precious to you, and then do the thing you really, really want to do with all that experience under your belt.
How many episodes do you have at this point?
105.
Nice. And would you say, did you start with that same, like starting with the second best and then working
No,
up
I
to...
absolutely did not.
Okay.
Learn from my mistakes.
So if people are interested and want to find out more, listen to your episodes, etc., where should they go?
So the strategy we have adopted to overcome the thing I was just talking about is we have recap episodes of our first 30 episodes and then also up to our 60th episode. So you can catch up on the first 2 seasons of our long form campaign in about an hour and a half. And then you can dive in episode 62, I think, which is where season 3 actually kicks off. And that has our best editing, you know, after me having about 4 years of experience under my belt with sound design, with scoring, with, you know, just the audio quality, our equipment, our literal mics are better at that point. Not to say that our first season is like unlistenable, you know, if you don't mind and are probably not an audio engineer, so you're not listening for all the things that I now have to listen to as part of my job, you'll be fine. And the story, I argue and maintain, holds up. It's fine. It's just, if you wanted to get to a point where I know what I'm doing, maybe listen to the recap for season 1 and then pick up with like episode 29 or something like that, and you know, go back to it later if you really want all the minutia of our first season where they're still getting their bearings and coalescing as a party of heroes.
Yeah, see, that's me. I'm like absolutely go to the start and just get through it.
Yeah, we have onboarding episodes as well. There's a 2-shot onboarding thing that happens after the time skip that we put between seasons 2 and 3. So if you wanted to literally just jump in there, we reintroduce the characters, we redescribe them, we reestablish like the dynamics amongst the party, and so that gives you a way to just sort of say like, we'll get to the backstory later maybe, but I'm going to pick up where these heroes are now. Because the world changes significantly in our series, and we're not like trying to maintain that as like a completely spoiler-free thing. It's like, yeah, after season 2, it's a different story. So.
And are you on like Spotify, YouTube, etc., all
the places? Yeah, you can find us wherever podcasts happen. We have a YouTube channel, although I tell people you should go there, I guess, if you have YouTube Premium, but otherwise, why would you want ads?
Yeah. And if anyone who listens to this is at PAX, then 3934 is the table to come to.
Yeah, come find us. And if you want to look at our socials, we are trying to be better about posting more often, and that's usually where we send announcements to. So we are at Story Squad Cast on Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, Tumblr, I think. We're all over the place.
Tumblr. Thanks. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And
yeah, thank
I hope you have an enjoyable rest of PAX.
Absolutely. You too. Take care, adventurers.
All right, so I'm here with Steve from Bully Pulpit Games at PAX Expo Hall, and we've stepped away from the booth, but your booth is number 43 something.
4349, I believe.
That sounds right. Okay. And so can you tell us a little bit about yourself and Bully Pulpit Games?
Sure. My name is Steve Seghetti. My partner is Jason Morningstar. We've been running Bully Pulpit Games for a long time. Fiasco is our flagship game that most people know us by. but we've published and made lots of other weird little games that sort of sit on the edge of role-playing and storytelling and live action. Star-Crossed and Desperation are some of our other titles that we're known for.
So I'm here from Changeling the podcast. Are you familiar with Changeling the Dreaming or Changeling the Lost by White Wolf?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
So in particular, I'm trying to speak with people who are doing games that are Fae or folklore adjacent.
Sure.
And so when I was looking through the list, I saw this Genya's Wonder Tales, which seems like something that is in that realm. So
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that one?
Sure. So Genya's Wonder Tales is our newest game. It's still in pre-order on BackerKit right now, but it is a game about Baltic and Slavic folk tales. So it's a set of 6 small stories, all sort of presented by the old witch Genya, who is setting you up to have a story to play out. So there are 4 characters in each story, and each character has certain moves that are attached to them, the things that are going to happen in the story, and you're looking for those moments to trigger, and then you flip the card over and you look at what the consequences or decisions are that you're going to make. And so you might have a brave knight and a carp princess who changes her shape at night, and the old monster hunter who is trying to get rid of all the changelings, and the ways in which those different characters intersect, their loves and their interests and their hatreds. That presents the story that you play out in about an hour.
So it's almost like card-based role-playing.
Yeah, you're using the cards as prompts to sort of drive your story forward.
When you say Baltic and Slavic, what are some of the kind of distinguishing features that people might find unexpected?
I think you're going to find it's a little less of what you might think of as Fae. There are no sprites or elves, but it's more like a werebear or a woman who can turn into a fish when her garments are taken away, her fish scale dress, right? There's a snake king who rules over a kingdom of snakes and has control over that dominion, and other people, humans, come to him because they want something. So,
And is it solo or multiplayer?
it is designed to be ideally like a 4-player game.
Okay.
But we list it as being less than that because you could sit down and play it as a solo game just by looking at the prompts, to making those decisions and writing out what you do.
Okay. So it's on BackerKit. I'm going to point people towards that. The other game that I randomly wanted to ask about, even though it might have nothing to do with the Fae, but your game Durance, because in Changeling the Lost, Durance is a very significant game term, so
Sure.
it caught my eye. Can you say a little bit about what is that one?
Yeah, Durance is a slightly older game of ours. It is a sci-fi game about a penal colony in space.
Okay.
So the first thing that you do in play is you decide what the surveyors found on the planet, what kind of great planet they found for colonization, how much air it has, how many plants it has, whether it's habitable. And then when the people get there, they find out how wrong the surveyors were and how bad that place actually is and whether it's survivable. But by that time, they're there, and there are a bunch of prisoners and a bunch of guards and overseers, and the power structures that they have to deal with, the fights that come from that, is where the story is.
Interesting.
So that's a game that plays out. It's a little bit more in a traditional sense in that it plays out with a GM and in a couple of hours. So it's not the same sort of card-based thing, but it's a really interesting, gritty kind of story.
Yeah. I'll admit the Genya's Wonder Tales is maybe a little bit more appealing to me, but they also, Fiasco I know is wonderful, so.
You might also be interested in our game Desperation,
Okay.
which is a game, it's card-based, but it's more gothic, more sort of a darker story about tragedy. There's 2 games in the box. One of them is called Dead House. It's about a blizzard in Kansas in 1888 and about the people who try to survive the blizzard, and most of them don't. And then there's the Isabel, which is about a shipwreck in Alaska in the same time period. And lots of bad things happen to those people as well.
Are these like actual events that have been...
Yeah, it's based in history.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Interesting.
I don't know if the specifics of Isabel, but certainly Dead House.
Okay. So if people are interested in these games, if people are listening to this who are at PAX, they can go to the booth. But otherwise, where online can people
Yeah,
find this stuff?
bullypulpitgames.com is where we are.
Okay, awesome. And once again, BackerKit for Genya's Wonder Tales. So, cool. Well,
Thanks
thank you
very
so much, and hope you have a wonderful rest of the PAX. So, I'm here at booth number, 414... 4143. Thanks, helpful sign. At +1 XP, and I'm here with Tyler and Robbie. And can you tell me about yourselves and what this +1 XP Games is all about?
Absolutely. My name's Tyler. I am 1/3 of Gossamer Coast, a game design group that includes Robbie here and another member currently not around, Kelsey. And +1 EXP is a independent game publishing organization that is helping us put together, kickstart, and then ship and print our newest game, Hinterlights.
I'm Robbie. I am the art director and lead illustrator for Gossamer Coast, and I drew all of Hinterlight and kind of co-designed it too, bouncing ideas around for it.
Awesome. So are you familiar with Changeling, the Dreaming / the Lost?
I am. So I have never actually played a World of Darkness game.
Fair.
But I did read through Changeling while prepping ideas for Hinterlight, because obviously that is like the thing in the space for fairy things. And I think it was actually, did Jay Dragon send you some Changeling stuff for inspo for a different project? And that was sort of bled over into stuff that we were doing as well.
Yeah, I did. I was doing some work for Prince of Hounds, and Jay sent over some reference from Changeling, the kind of color pencil pastel on parchment vibe, and it was like,
nice.
Oh, it'd be cool if some of the like world building stuff for this game like had this aesthetic to it, and that got me like looking through more of Changeling the Lost, and then since we made this game, it is brought up like constantly all the time, and we're like, and we've gotten pretty positive feedback about the feeling that Changeling the Lost wants you to have our game kind of being able to at least be in the same vibe zone.
Those feelings.
Well, I'm going to pile on and say, because I see similarities between the games as well, can you tell us about Hinterlight?
Absolutely. So Hinterlight is a collaborative world-building ritual where you and your friends come together at a table and you use the text and you arrange normal deck of playing cards into sort of a mystical-looking pattern, and that in the book helps prompt you build a vaguely Victorian kind of powder and lace fairy world that reflects the sort of nightmare energy of some of your characters, like your character's worst aspects, and then you tell the story of how you died there and were resurrected by the noble fae in order to sort of start a campaign where you are sort of bound to these nasty little noble fairies and trying to escape the fate of doing their bidding forever.
As one does.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
So it's an entirely like separate world. It's not kind of like connected to the real world or anything like that.
So the idea is very much like, yes, like you are building a pocket world that is the world of fairy. Like the assumed place you're coming from is this sort of Victorian, not quite grimdark fantasy vibe, but like it'd be very easy to swap out. And we've been talking with having some guest designers like do sort of a different kind of character generation if you wanted to do like an urban fantasy thing, if you wanted it to feel more like Changeling, or if like you want to do, I don't know, like I feel like there's some other ideas. I know that Tony wants us to do like a punk band one, but we'll see.
And then aesthetically, I mean, what were some of the inspirations for kind of the artwork that I've seen on the Kickstarter page at least?
Yeah, definitely, like, part of it for me was I come from comics. We both come from comics. Tyler used to write comics that I would draw, and honestly, Eat the Reich was a little bit of an inspiration, just because the illustrator comes from a comics background. And I've been, even before that, I've been really into the marriage of illustration and text and wanting to like maximize accessibility and readability. And I want somebody to like open a book and be like super sucked in and like engaged. I don't want the book to be like something you have to look at and then decipher so that only you can understand it, like take a bunch of notes and like have to rewrite the book for your own brain. I want it to feel as accessible as like a video game would. For Hinterlight, a lot of that came down to during the ritual of resurrection. A lot of the ideas for those spreads are like you're looking at the top of this table that these dead bodies are sitting at, and you see like the scrying mirror, and you see like a tome opened up, and you see like a little doll that represents like the effigy of the characters. And I really wanted it to feel like you're like in the world whenever you're playing the game. So like we're at a table, sitting at a table. Okay, cool. Let's open the book. Let's look at the table, like the diegetic table in the play space. It was just a very exciting idea for me.
And is it the kind of thing, because I'm kind of looking at the table of other games here, so is it going to be zine length or is it a longer form book?
So we are shooting somewhere 1 to 120 page length, so
Oh,
it is
wow,
like
okay.
a book.
Nice.
But in addition to the ritual, it is going to have a lot of play tools that someone can use to take play forward and make like preparation for games easy, and also a light system based on Tony, who runs +1 EXP's system Together We Go.
Do you anticipate this being an ongoing project, or is this intended to be standalone, or are you going to wait and see?
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's wait and see. If there's a lot of attention and people want more stuff for it, obviously we will do it. I also have like 30 other things I want to make that
Sure.
I've been putting on the back burner while we've gotten Hinterlight cooking. But yeah, I think it's something that could certainly marry well with future collaboration with other folks.
Cool. Well, so I believe I'm correct in saying the Kickstarter is still going.
It is
right?
active, yeah. It will be active until December 6th or 7th. It is for 22 more days it will be rolling.
Okay. So if people are interested in either the game or your work together or individually, where should they look online, etc.?
Yeah, you can go to Kickstarter to the Hinterlight page. That would be much appreciated. You can also check all of our other work out, our old zines, our art, the comics we used to make at gossamercoast.com. And then Robbie has an Instagram that is just Robbie A. Burns, ROBBIABURNS.
Yeah, there's no E in Robbie.
Nope, there's not. There's a lot of cool art on there as well.
You spelled that with remarkable facility.
I've had to do it a few times.
Also, the quick start for Hinterlight is for free right now on +1 EXP's website, and the Kickstarter URL itself, it's just TTRPG.link/Hinterlight.
Okay.
So you can go there. There is a link on that page to the free quick start if you want to like dip your toes in a little bit, see if like it's your vibe or not before totally committing. But yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that many listeners will find it to be to their liking. So
Hopefully.
thank you so much, and
course.
enjoy the rest of your PAX.
Thank you.
Splendid.
You
Thank
too.
you so much.